China's President Xi Jinping has secured a third term as leader of the Chinese Communist Party. It's a historic moment that confirms him as the nation's most powerful ruler since Mao Zedong. Xi's appointment came at the end of the week-long Communist Party Congress, where the party's constitution was amended to enshrine Xi's position. He has also made sweeping reforms to the party's leadership and promoted several close allies. Xi is now expected to be handed a third term as president in March, and some expect he may try to stay in power for life. Xi was appointed party leader in a closed-door meeting and announced his re-election to the media a short time ago.
Just now, the 20th Chinese Communist Party Committee held its first plenary session and elected the new central leadership. I was re-elected as the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party Central Committee.
OK, let's bring in correspondent Fabian Kretschmer in Beijing. Fabian, welcome. Xi Jinping has now secured this historic third term. Just how complete is his control over the Chinese Communist Party and China itself after this Congress?
Well, he's definitely more powerful than ever before. It's quite remarkable, especially when you look at the lineup of the seven-member standing committee. It's full of ideological loyalists towards Xi Jinping, full of yes-men, I would say, and all the more the pragmatic voices, the economic reformers, they're out. And I want to point to especially one politician, namely Li Qiang. He's now the future second most powerful man in China. He was the mayor during the Shanghai lockdown this spring. I mean, that was probably the biggest COVID lockdown in history, and that produced a lot of human suffering. And now he is rewarded, so to speak, by becoming the second most powerful man in the country. That tells you a lot, and I think it gives an insight in how the system works. He was rewarded by being very loyal, by following the order of Beijing in implementing this lockdown. So, yeah, it definitely shows Xi Jinping is totally in power right now.
Now, Fabian, now that Xi has this unprecedented control, as you've outlined, what do you think his plans are when it comes to some of the big issues on his plate, that like US tensions and also Taiwan?
Well, China's diplomacy under Xi Jinping has changed drastically. He made the country much more confident on the foreign policy stage, sometimes overly confident, and his foreign policy also includes a very aggressive rhetoric, and you can see that clearly by looking at the, for example, social media presence of all the Chinese ambassadors, especially in the West. And all those things, of course, are not very helpful when it comes to improving ties with the US, or also de-escalating the conflict with Taiwan. So I would expect that things might get more complicated, especially China's relationship to the West.
Now, Fabian, a lot of people are talking about the former leader Hu Jintao. He was dramatically led out of the hall during this Congress. Of course, many people around the world are wondering why. What can you tell us?
Yeah, there are basically three theories, and the official one that was spread by Chinese state media, but noticeably only on their English language channels on a Twitter platform that is banned here in China. They say that he is in bad health and that's why he had to be let out. But to be honest, it doesn't really explain why the way how he was let out was such a public humiliation. I mean, if you look at the images, it's really quite remarkable. And some analysts say that actually it was indeed a public humiliation, namely in front of the foreign press who just entered the great hall of the people in Beijing. And then, of course, there's also a third theory saying that Hu Jintao was about to voice some criticism. He didn't want to accept the historic third term of Xi Jinping. But to be honest, we don't know, and probably we will never know the truth behind it because of the opaque system. But it was clearly a historic metaphor. The images were remarkable. It gave you a sense of the old China personified by Hu Jintao leaving, making space for the new era under Xi Jinping.
That was correspondent Fabian Kretschmer in Beijing. Fabian, thanks so much.